What's going on, Dat Nation? Welcome into another edition of Saints Now by Chat Sports. My name is Trace Girouard. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Now, I need your help. We're going to be going through some cut candidates in the show, some players that I think could be possibly on the roster bubble after OTAs and minicamp, but I need your help, guys. Desperately, I need your help. This is not going to be a sit here and beg. This is me legitimately getting on my knees, begging you, please. The bosses said I am not allowed to leave the studio today until we get to 28,000 subscribers. I am 15 short. I will stay here all night long. Please don't make me do that. Please don't. But I will, because I'm committed to excellence and I'm committed to giving you guys the best product available. And if that's not enough reason, this should fire you up. In the month of June, our channel, Saints Now by Chat Sports, isn't even in the top 10 of subscribers earned this month. I mean, I love my guy Patrick Seatman, but the Vikings getting 520, are you kidding me? We can't even get to 300? Come on, Saints fans, help a brother out. Let me go home and let me go take my dog on a walk this evening. Plus, you get Saints news, rumors, and videos every single day. All right, so let's get into the cut candidates. We had some fun, but now let's have a little bit of serious discussion. Equanimeous St. Brown, he is my first cut candidate that I want to list in today's video. And why am I listing him? Well, it's not like he was brought in on this massive contract, owed a ton of money. It was a splash move. That's not what it was. It's a one-year vet minimum deal of $1.125 million. And this was a player who back in 2018 was a sixth-round pick by Green Bay, but he's also spent a little bit of time with Chicago. So a lot of time, and all of his NFL experience comes from the NFC North. And in his career, 60 games played, very short amount of games started over his career in the NFL, but it's not really been that great of production. 63 receptions, 928 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So obviously he's not a player that's going to change the game. He's not going to go and win you football games, but I do think that he is a nice addition to the wide receiver group. Now, if you ask me, the top 3 guys on this graphic are a lock. Chris Olave, A.T. Perry, Rashid Shaheed are going to make the roster. Cedric Wilson, I believe he is actually going to be one of your starting slot guys alongside Rashid Shaheed, making Shaheed be able to line up on the outside and wherever they want to use him. Because I also think he should be able to rush the ball a little bit. Remember that Bengals game when he took the ball 48 yards to the house or something like that? It was pretty wild. Mason Tipton, he's not, I mean, maybe he makes the roster based on some, the new kickoff rule and some special teams value. Same with Jermaine Jackson. I think Morgan Stanley has an uphill battle as well, but I do think Equanimeous St. Brown is a player that maybe could find himself in a role on special teams more than anything, and there's been reports from Minicamp that Equanimeous St. Brown, the brother of Amon-Ra St. Brown, the older brother, so if you're a big brother out there and your little brother is, making a lot of freaking money and you're over here just kind of fighting for a roster spot, I'd be a little bit mad when we have family Christmas dinner. But I will say this, he's been working a lot with special teams and getting a lot of the primary and secondary special teams reps. So maybe he can find himself a role on the Saints roster. And on top of that, maybe he's a player who could contribute as a blocker, who can contribute in certain different play packages and whatnot in different situations. But I will say this, the new kickoff rule makes things interesting. I think that when you take into consideration what the roster has and the type of players that could go and return kickoffs, it's going to be much safer, and you should expect some of these top guys like an Alvin Kamara, like a Taysom Hill, like a Chris Olave, expect some of these kind of guys to get kickoff return reps and line up on kick return. And I think Equanimeous St. Brown might be able to cut himself a spot on special teams as a blocker and maybe as a blocker as a wide receiver, but I don't expect him to be anybody who's a massive game changer as a receiver, if that makes some sense. So maybe he doesn't make the roster, but I do think that he's doing a good job of carving out a role at this moment. So let's talk about Colin Saunders. I was really upset to put this name on this list because I love Binky. But let's take a look at the depth chart for the defensive line because it's very loaded. There's a lot of players on this group. Now, I think Tana Passanio, he's not going to go on IR if you ask me. Probably not because it would be a season-ending injured reserve move. But I do think that it's going to be tough for Isaiah Foskey and Cam Jordan and Peyton Turner and Carl Granderson and Chase Young just on the defensive end spot to just narrow it down to 4 of those guys. And then you move into the defensive interior, you have Brian Brees, who was stellar last year. You have Christian Boyd, who you drafted this past NFL draft. You also have Jack Heflin. You have Nathan Shepard, who you brought in as a free agent. And then you have John Pennicini. Like, this is a group of really talented players who at any given time could be a contributor. But let's focus in on Christian Boyd, because that is the player who I think ultimately could unseat Colin Saunders. And it's nothing to take away from what Saunders is capable of doing and what he can do. It's more so of a praise to Christian Boyd, because I think that he is a very talented defensive tackle. I mean, he went to a small school last year, but he still put up really good production. 6'2", 320 pounds. The dude's a freaking behemoth. 38 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. I mean, this is a player who not only can stop the run, but can also pressure the passer. And for the record, I want to keep Binky. I really want to see Colin Saunders stick around in New Orleans for the, foreseeable future. And for the love of God, can we get him a touchdown this year? I remember last year when Colin Saunders lining up on offense versus the Colts and then lining up against the Bears. I mean, it was hilarious. It was awesome. I would have loved to see Colin Saunders get a touchdown last year. Here's my hot take. Get not a jumbo package, a gumbo package, and have Colin Saunders, Taysom Hill run a little tush-push action. Either one of them could be the guy who holds the ball. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? Let him just take the ball on the 1-yard line and walk into the end zone. It would be awesome to see Colin Saunders score a touchdown. But you know what else is awesome? Today's presenting sponsor, Chubby's Shorts. And guys, I've been rocking their apparel and rocking their gear since I was back in high school and I was, looking fresh in college. I was always looking good because I was repping either American flag swimsuits. They're really comfortable shorts. They're nice shirts. They have really nice button downs. They have stuff for the pool, going out to the bars, and all sorts of fun stuff. So if you want to go get started with Chubby's, use the link at the bottom of your screen, chubbyshorts.com/chat. And it's summertime, Dat Nation. So the skies are out. That also means the thighs are out. Crack open a cold one and make any day feel like a Saturday when you use our code CHAT to get 20% off when you visit chubbyshorts.com. Chubby's makes clothes that make every moment feel like a vacation. Some people wear tuxedo t-shirts to show that they like to party, but for me, I rock Chubby's shorts, swimsuits, and shirts by the pool, at the bar, or when I'm just kicking it back with the homies. I've been rocking a dad bod since high school, and Chubby's shorts have been keeping me fresh, feeling good, and looking even better. They have the most comfortable shorts, swimsuits, pants, polos, and even button-down shirts that'll have grandma praising how well you clean up and your girlfriend wanting to get down. Now, for a limited time, Chubby's is giving our viewers here at Saints Now by Chat Sports 20% off when you use our exclusive code, CHAT. That's code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. One more time, use code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. The link is in the comment section and description of this video to get 20% off. Support our show and tell them we sent you. Don't blend in with the crowd. Stand out with Chubby's. So Ugo Amadi, he is a defensive back that I also think could be on the outside looking in. And this is a player who was on a 1-year contract with the Saints last year, but then this year got brought back in. And here's my thing for Ugo Amadi. I don't necessarily have him listed on the depth chart because he can be in the cornerback, he can be in the safeties, kind of just plays all over the place. So for the sake of the argument, I didn't include him on this graphic. And I also didn't include Will Harris because these are guys specifically, I'm not having them drop back in coverage and play deep safety. I'm not having them line up alongside Tyrann Mathieu to try and prevent the deep ball. These are players that I'm having line up in the box and line up down below in the center to stop the run, to stop easy passes to the tight ends, and to stop stuff over the middle. And I think that Will Harris, actually considering the fact that his PFF number is down compared to Ugo Amadi's, the production is better. And I think that Will Harris was brought in for a reason, and it was to challenge Ugo Amadi. And not to mention, you also have guys like Alontae Taylor, like Kool-Aid McKinstry, who are very versatile and can play anywhere on the field as a defensive back. So I know that the Saints coaching staff will put out the best defensive back group that they can at any given moment. I just think that Ugo Amadi might not be that guy. And hot take, I think if Ugo Amadi doesn't make the roster, Kool-Aid McKinstry takes number 0. So I'm curious, Saints fans, what was the first ever jersey that you owned? I had a Reebok Drew Brees, black jersey. I still got it back in my parents' house. I mean, I'll never get rid of that thing. It was the best jersey I've ever owned. I want to know what jersey you own. Who was it? What color was it? When did you get it? I want to hear what you guys think and where or what was the first jersey that you ever owned. Just trying to, get a pulse of the fan base and see what we all have in common. All right, linebacker Anfernee Orji was a UDFA brought into the linebacker group last offseason. And this is a player who last season legitimately, there are no stats. There are zero stats for Anfernee Orji. He didn't really play at all. So it's kind of tough to get a read on him. And I do think that it's not a testament to the lack of production from Orji. I think it's more so you brought in a guy and you drafted a player in Jalen Ford. And if you take a look at the scouting report for Jalen Ford, he's a very phenomenal tackler. You can see that with his tackles at 101, 10.5 being for a loss. He also logged a sack. He also logged 2 interceptions. He also logged 2 pass breakups. So this is a guy who's decent in coverage. He has really nice instincts, and he can fit in alongside Willie Gay and Demario Davis and Pete Werner very, very well. And I do believe that Jalen Ford could be a really nice piece to continue to develop and continue to groom to be the player you want him to be to replace Demario Davis whenever he inevitably does retire. I really like bringing in Jalen Ford. I think he's going to be an exciting player. And so I think just for that reason, Anfernee Orji is a player that may not make the roster in 2024. Again, it's not taken away from him. It's just there's other players out there. Now, this is probably why you clicked on the video. You probably got to this point and you're like, where the hell is Alvin Kamara? He was on the thumbnail. He was in the title. Why aren't we talking about him? Well, let's talk about him. Now, I'm not saying that Alvin Kamara should be cut. I'm not saying that I want him to be cut. I'm not saying I want to trade him. I'm not saying he should be traded. I want to keep Alvin Kamara. Let me make that point very, very clear. I want Alvin Kamara to wear the black and gold in 2024 for the New Orleans Saints at Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. But what happens if you cannot get a contract figured out? What happens if AK is asking for a lot more money than the Saints are willing to pay? What happens if the Saints aren't willing to give him extra years and that's what Kamara wants? That is something that the Saints and us Saints fans need to consider. I do believe something will happen, but if you don't keep him, the Saints save $10.5 million in 2024 if they move on. So there is something to say about maybe getting rid of Alvin Kamara's contract, not the player, but the contract makes some sense. Again, that's not what I want. That's not what I'm hoping for, and that's not what I'm trying to encourage. I'm just saying, if worse comes to worse, this contract thing does not work out, maybe a trade goes down, maybe he gets cut. That's something that we at least have to consider and discuss. This is my job. I cover the New Orleans Saints. I have to talk about all possibilities. So if you want to come after me and get in my throats, come after my throat, rip me in the comment section. But I want to ask you this question real fast. What do you want to do with Alvin Kamara? Do you want to trade him? Do you want to pay and keep him? Or do you want to cut him? Just comment down below in the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts are and sound off, because I know Saints fans are the smartest fan base in all of sports. And thank you so much for tuning into today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.